We all think we know how the dinosaurs died. It's the story every science class and every documentary tells us. 66 million years ago, a monster asteroid slammed into what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, unleashing hell on Earth. Within hours, the skies darkened, the oceans boiled, and firestorms raged across continents. In just a geological blink of an eye, 3 out of every 4 species on the planet were gone. The dinosaurs, those magnificent rulers of the Mesozoic, were wiped out almost overnight. It's dramatic, it's tragic, and it's true. But what if I told you that this already apocalyptic story might actually be missing a chapter? What if the Chicxulub asteroid, the infamous dinosaur killer, wasn't alone that day? What if the dinosaurs were dealt not one, but 2 devastating blows in rapid succession? In 2022, researchers combing through seismic data stumbled upon something unexpected. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of Guinea in West Africa, they spotted a massive circular structure hidden under nearly 3,000 feet of water. Its name, the Nadir crater, measuring over 5.7 miles across, roughly 11 times taller than the world's tallest skyscraper. The structure wasn't just any undersea oddity. It had all the hallmarks of an impact crater. At first glance, you might shrug. Craters happen. Earth has been smacked around plenty of times in its 4.5 billion year history. But then came the kicker. When the site was dated, it lined up almost perfectly with Chicxulub. Both, it seemed, had struck within the same narrow slice of time, right at the very end of the dinosaurs' reign. Suddenly,
oh my
the
goodness,
extinction event we thought we knew became a lot more complicated. The Nadir asteroid, a smaller but still deadly cousin. So what exactly hit the Atlantic that day? Based on models, the Nadir asteroid was no pebble. It was about 600 feet wide over 5 football fields, end to end, and traveling at a mind-bending 45,000 miles per hour. To put that speed into perspective, it was 11 times faster than the fastest tank shell ever fired. And this rock was 4 billion times heavier. When it collided with Earth's surface, the impact unleashed energy equal to around 5,000 megatons of TNT. For comparison, that's more destructive force than every nuclear weapon on Earth combined. And while it was smaller than Chicxulub, which blasted out a crater 120 miles wide, the Nadir strike was still far from minor. These kinds of impacts are thought to occur only once every 50,000 to 100,000 years. In other words, humanity would consider itself lucky never to see one. Imagine standing on the African coast 66 million years ago. Dinosaurs roamed lush forest, hadrosaurs with their crested heads, long-necked titanosaurs browsing on trees, and predatory abelosaurids stalking in the undergrowth. Everything seems normal. Then suddenly, the sky begins to glow. An object brighter than 24 suns streaks overhead, tearing the atmosphere apart as it screams toward the horizon. In seconds, the light becomes blinding. The air superheats. Animals on open ground are scorched alive. And then the impact. The fireball was bigger than Central Park. The ocean exploded into steam, boiling away for miles around. A shockwave, hotter and faster than any hurricane, ripped outward. Entire forests would have been flattened. Dinosaurs hundreds of miles away would have been thrown to the ground or incinerated where they stood. And then came the water. The asteroid had plunged into the ocean, and with it came tsunamis so massive that near the impact site, waves were 3 times taller than the Eiffel Tower. The Atlantic basin became a death trap. Walls of water surged outward, crashing against the coasts of Africa, South America, and North America. Cities like New York, Miami, Boston, and Rio de Janeiro didn't exist yet, but if they had, they would have been washed off the map in minutes. As if that weren't enough, the strike triggered an earthquake of magnitude 7, cracking the seafloor and reshaping the landscape below. Even underwater, Earth shook from the blow. A 1-2 punch from the cosmos. The question scientists immediately asked after confirming the Nadir crater was simple but profound. When did it hit? Was this a warm-up act? The opening blow before Chicxulub delivered the coup de grace? Did both asteroids arrive almost simultaneously? A cosmic double tap? Or was Nadir a cruel aftershock, punishing an ecosystem already on its knees? The truth is, we don't know yet. Dating rocks that old is tricky. The margin of error is thousands of years, which sounds like forever to us but in geological terms. It's practically the same day. Still, the possibilities paint very different pictures. If Nadir hit before Chicxulub, ecosystems across Africa and the Atlantic would have been destabilized first. Forests gone. Food chains fractured. Many dinosaurs and marine reptiles could have been forced into survival mode, leaving them vulnerable when the real monster arrived in Mexico. If the two impacts were nearly simultaneous, the devastation would have been compounded, like being hit by a freight train and then run over by another 1 second later. Everything Chicxulub did for storms. Acid rain. Atmospheric dust would have been magnified. If Nadir came after, it would have been a grim final act, erasing any survivors still clinging to life on devastated continents. Either way, the effect was catastrophic. Chicxulub by itself packed the energy of 10 billion Hiroshima bombs. Add Nadir into the mix, and the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs looks less like an isolated calamity and more like a planetary beatdown. Climate chaos in the aftermath. Chicxulub's impact is famous for the global firestorms and the impact winter that followed. Dust and sulfur choked the skies, blocking sunlight, cooling the planet, and shutting down photosynthesis. Crops died. Food chains collapsed. Nadir was smaller, so it didn't throw nearly as much material into the atmosphere. But what it did eject came from an especially nasty place: the seafloor near a thick black shale deposit loaded with carbon and sulfur. Those elements, when vaporized, make toxic gases. Sulfur dioxide, for example, forms sulfuric acid in the atmosphere, creating acid rain and reflecting sunlight back into space. Even a smaller injection of sulfur could have lowered global temperatures for years. Independent simulations of a similar-sized asteroid-like Bennu, the near-Earth object NASA has studied, suggest global precipitation could drop by 15%. And the ozone layer could thin by nearly a third. Imagine 3 to 4 years of cooler, drier weather and harsher UV radiation beating down. It's the kind of environmental stress that ecosystems simply can't endure on top of everything else. And here's the twist. Fewer particles in the air don't always mean less trouble. In fact,
look at how
with
it
less
is blackened
dust,
by fire.
the particles collide less often and take longer to clump together and fall back down. That means the atmospheric haze could have lingered longer than Chicxulub's, prolonging the climatic pain. In a grim irony, Nadir might have been worse in its subtle way, less spectacular,
so many stars.
but sneakier,
What do you
keeping
see?
the skies dim for longer. Imagine it happening today. Let's fast forward from the age of dinosaurs to our modern world. Picture an asteroid the size of Nadir heading straight for the Atlantic Ocean. What would it mean for us? The fireball alone would instantly kill tens of thousands along the West African coast. Cities like Conakry, Freetown, and Dakar would be flattened in moments. But the disaster wouldn't stay local. Tsunamis would surge outward across the Atlantic basin, racing toward the shores of Europe, South America, and the United States. Within hours, walls of water would crash into New York, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Miami and the entire Florida coastline would be swallowed. The Gulf of Mexico would roar with waves taller than skyscrapers. Millions of people would be in immediate danger, and hundreds of millions more would face the chaos afterward. The global economy would unravel. The Atlantic is the beating heart of world trade shipping routes. Energy lines and financial hubs would all be crippled. Food production would plummet as the climate shifted. Crops would fail across breadbasket regions. Shortages would ripple across supply chains. Panic would spread. And even if you survived the initial impact, you'd live under a darker sky. Temperatures would fall. Rain would dwindle. Harvests would shrink. Humanity might not go extinct, but the world order we take for granted could collapse in months. When you hear all that, it's easy to forget this is not some Hollywood disaster flick. It's real science. It happened before the dinosaurs. And unless we take asteroid threats seriously, it could happen again. Chicxulub versus Nadir, a tale of two impacts. To really grasp the scale of this discovery, it helps to compare the two craters side by side. Chicxulub was the undisputed heavyweight crater nearly 120 miles wide, blasted out by an asteroid the size of Mount Everest. Its impact hurled molten rock halfway across the planet, ignited forests on every continent, and choked the sky with enough dust and gas to plunge Earth into years of darkness. By comparison,
We have an impact
Nadir was
trajectory
smaller,
confirmed.
just under 6 miles across. But calling it small is misleading. An asteroid of its size would still have been capable of destroying
And that's
an
why we
entire
practice
region of the
planetary
United
defense,
States.
to protect our home.
Scientists estimate that an object a fraction of Nadir's size could completely wipe New York City off the map. Imagine then what 5 football fields worth of rock, screaming in at 45,000 miles an hour, would do to the Atlantic seaboard. This is why the discovery is so significant. For decades, the extinction of the dinosaurs was told as a simple story: one asteroid, one day, one apocalypse. But Nadir suggests that reality might have been even more brutal sequence of disasters stacked on top of each other, each one making recovery less likely. Whether it struck before, during, or after Chicxulub, Nadir adds another layer of violence to one of Earth's darkest hours. The lesson for humanity. Here's where the story takes a sobering turn. Dinosaurs didn't have telescopes. They didn't have space programs. They didn't have warning systems or planetary defense plans. When the sky lit up, there was nothing they could do but stare in confusion and fear. We don't have that excuse. Today, NASA and other agencies track thousands of near-Earth objects. Missions like DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, have already proven that we can nudge an asteroid off course. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Our coverage is far from complete. We've cataloged the big ones, the planet killers, but there are countless medium-sized rocks out there, the Nadir-class threats, that could still devastate civilization. Many of them are invisible until they're frighteningly close. If Nadir happened today, it wouldn't just be a natural disaster. It would be a civilization-level event.
And from the sky,
hundreds of millions
the
at risk.
stars would fall
Cities
like
drowned.
burning stones.
Economies shattered. Climate warped for years. It's not the kind of scenario you can rebuild from in a single generation. That's why scientists stress the urgency of funding asteroid detection and defense. Every telescope pointed at the
Asteroids are like
sky is a
cosmic
line of
dust,
defense.
But sometimes
Every
they can
simulation
come a
run
little
by
too close
researchers
to our
helps us
planet.
prepare. Every experiment in deflection buys us hope. Because the one thing history teaches us is this: extinction doesn't negotiate. You either prepare or you end up like the dinosaurs, a fragile planet under fire. The discovery of the Nadir crater is more than just another scientific curiosity. It's a reminder of how violent Earth's history really is. Our planet isn't a safe, gentle cradle. It's been pummeled again
We
and
need to
again by
adjust the
rocks from
trajectory
space,
here.
each one capable of rewriting the story of life. For the dinosaurs, it was a brutal 1-2 punch. Chicxulub was enough to finish them. Nadir may have made their doom even swifter, harsher, and more inescapable. And yet, without that catastrophe, mammals might never have risen.
Asteroid
Without that
successfully
destruction,
deflected.
we humans won't be here at all. Our very existence is tied to that day of chaos. It's humbling, it's terrifying, and it's a call to action. Because if history repeats itself and it will, then we have a choice. Do we watch the sky and prepare? Or do we wait, like the dinosaurs, for the day the horizon glows brighter than the sun? The double doom of the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, the dinosaurs' world ended not with a whimper, but with fireballs, tsunamis, earthquakes, and darkness. Chicxulub was the giant that guaranteed their extinction. Nadir,
Look at
smaller
that.
but still monstrous, may have made sure there was no escape. Whether it was a prelude, a companion strike, or an aftershock, Nadir proves that Earth's past was even more catastrophic than we once believed. The dinosaurs faced not one apocalypse, but possibly two. For us, the story isn't just history, it's a warning. The sky is not empty. The threats are real. And while we can't change the past, we can change our future. The dinosaurs never had a choice. We do. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember, It was both the dinosaurs' last sight and humanity's greatest responsibility. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the dinosaurs' double doom. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss another episode where we uncover the strangest, darkest, and most fascinating secrets of our planet's
survived
past.
because
I'd
we
also love to
prepared.
hear from you. Drop a comment below. Do you think the dinosaurs could have survived if only one asteroid had hit? Or was their fate sealed no matter what? And hey, if you think your friends would find this story as mind-blowing as you did,
The dinosaurs
be sure to
never
share
had a
this video
choice.
with them. Until next time,
We do.
stay curious and remember, the dinosaurs didn't have a space program, but we do.